he means a lot to me, obviously. He was such a great opponent, you know. It's what you want in sports. He had that DNA that very few athletes can ever have. The Tiger Woods and the Michael Jordans. It's funny. I was getting to know him more since he retired. This is a tough one. We have to go play. The news is just so devastating for Vanessa and his family, and there's just so many people he touched.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Stretch 4 podcast. I'm your host, Peter Tran, and on the line I have my pick and pop partner, Josh Cohen. How you doing today?
Well, not so great.
I hear you. Banger in the paint, Rojan Walia, how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm devastated. It's been a heavy day.
Yeah. So we're recording on Sunday night. I'm going to say about 10 hours, maybe 6-7 hours after the news broke that Kobe passed away today in a fatal helicopter accident in Calabasas. Man, this is one of the few things that requires an emergency pod, isn't it? I don't know. It's so hard to talk about. I've been following on Twitter all day. I've been out, so that's all I've been doing is just constantly refreshing my feed. Obviously, it was frozen at the beginning, and then as the reports came in, you find out that his daughter was also with him. A lot of fake rumors out there, which we should not pay any attention to because that's exactly what they want from this. But we lost a legend. We lost, personally, someone who made me fall in love with basketball at a young age. When the Lakers were going through their three-peat, Kobe was the guy that I gravitated to first. He was probably one of the first players I actually watched play basketball. And yeah, man, I know we joke around about Kobe a lot, but that dude means a lot to everyone here.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly to start. But I think the fact that Kobe was obviously an amazing basketball player, but he was also a huge personality off the court. He's well known for many different ventures. He's obviously very young at 41, or was very young at 41 years old, and he just retired, 4 years ago now, and was really successful in his ventures outside of basketball. He won an Academy Award already, had the Mamba Academy. He was a coach for his daughter's team, who also passed away, which was, I think, on top of hearing the bad news, just waiting for an hour later and then hearing that his daughter was part of the crash, I think just made it even heavier. But yeah, Kobe transcended basketball. I was talking to many of my friends. A lot of them are devastated, but he was bigger than basketball, bigger than the 48 minutes, 82 games a season, bigger than the championships he won. He was a big part of culture, culture growing up. Kobe Bryant from 2000 or 1996 to 2016, he was ingrained in it. His DNA was ingrained in our culture.
Yeah, and for me, I would just say that in any sport or any type of thing that I enjoy or watch, dominance is something that I really enjoy watching. And just seeing somebody who's that good at their craft, who works that hard. I mean, there were stories about him waking up at 3 a.m, and working, 8-hour days where he was going to the gym and then going to, work out and going back to the gym and doing 3 a days. He was maniacal with his work ethic and how good he was. And it's just seeing the reaction today with how many players were just devastated. Even the guys that were playing today, DeMar DeRozan, Devin Booker was crying on the court as the game started. and all these teams doing the 24-second violation to honor Kobe Bryant was great, obviously, and it was just a really tough day, but there's a lot of great things obviously we can remember back and look at. I mean, Kobe had probably my favorite in-game dunk of all time. I think it was in the 2004 season. They were playing the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, and obviously anytime Kobe's playing, there's a huge hype around the game. He caught the ball on the baseline. You guys might remember this move where he swung through on Latrell Sprewell.
Mm-hmm.
Drove the baseline, did that just incredible reverse dunk, and the crowd, the reaction to it was just unbelievable. So just looking back and seeing all the different videos that people posted today and just reminiscing on how just fantastic he was and how much he, really touched people's lives and how great he was, off the court as well, as you mentioned before. It's something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I got goosebumps when you talked about it. That was heavy.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we can all relate to is obviously we love basketball, but how many times do you remember being in gym class? And I saw this on a friend, he posted on Instagram, and it just reminded me, I'm this experience is felt by millions of young kids, boys and girls. You would grab whatever ball you were playing in gym class, if you're playing dodgeball, volleyball, football, and you'd pick up the ball and there would obviously be nets around and you would shoot the ball on the net. And what was the word that came out after you shot it and made it? It was Kobe. It was every shot you took on any net, whether it was throwing a piece of paper into a garbage bin or hitting a beer pong shot, it was Kobe if it goes in, and if it doesn't, you just don't say anything. But if you think of clutch, I feel the word clutch, even though statistically people have said he's not the most clutch player and LeBron's more clutch, I think of Kobe Bryant, I think of someone who's passionate, who has a crazy work ethic, who's successful, who's clutch. And he was just a big part of kind of me growing up, and I'm sure all of us, as we grew up, he was growing up, and you saw how his attitude changed, but he was still very successful, and he still won, and he still dominated. I don't know where to go from here, but he was just something else. You knew you were watching something special when you saw him.
Yeah, I remember one of the most fondest memories I have of Kobe was during, I want to say it was 06 or 07, one of those years that, obviously after the Shaq years before Powell got there. It was this random game in November, December. Kobe was in Milwaukee, and I think the Lakers it was the last shot of the game. They were tied. Kobe's hanging at the mid wing, probably around 17, 18 feet out, and does his jab, and then fade away and bricks it. And everyone's yeah, okay, whatever. Kobe's allowed to miss, whatever. And at the end of the first overtime, he did the exact same move, exact same spot, over Charlie Ward, exact same defender, and just bangs it on him. And I remember the announcer distinctly was just so yeah, that's what Kobe does. It doesn't matter if he missed the first one. He's going to go back and do it again. And that's exactly what happened, right? That's pretty much what you got from him every time you watched. It was just, I might miss this time, but next time I'm going to get you. And it doesn't matter what you try to do. I'm still going to get you no matter what. And on the court, man, that dude's an absolute killer.
Yeah, I think I was probably the angriest watching the 81-point game. That's the most angry I've been as a fan. Just watching, the Raptors being up, I think it was 18 points in the first half. And if you're, a longtime Raptors fan, back then, the commentators were Leo Rautins and Chuck Swirsky. And Chuck Swirsky was a great, play-by-play guy. And he had a saying when he thought the game was over, he would say, "Bring out the salami and cheese, mama, and this ball game is over." And that's sort of Lawler's Law, except it was, it was concrete. It was set in stone. If he said that, the game was over. And he brought out the salami and cheese after the halftime. I think it was in the third quarter he said it, when the Raptors were up 22 points or so. And then Kobe proceeded to, I think, score 32 points in the third quarter or so and put the Lakers up at least 4 points going into the fourth. And obviously in the fourth quarter, they just completely annihilated them. And Kobe came out, I think, with 50 seconds or so left in the game, having 81 points. But just watching that game, and I don't like bringing this up now, but Sam Mitchell not throwing a double team out on the entire game, and Kobe just basically having shooting practice out there was quite the spectacle. And as a Raptor fan, I didn't really appreciate it back then because, I was obviously rooting for my team and hoping that they would win. But looking back at it afterwards and, watching those old, Raptors in 10 minutes games that they used to have on Raptors TV, you could just see like how special he was, obviously, and him going into that, Mamba mentality mode where just jacking up every shot, just being Kobe out there and just hitting literally everything.
And an 81-point game, 55 in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
There's a couple of post plays where he would like get into the post, dribble a couple times, dribble his men down to the post, and then he'd have nowhere to go, and he'd pump fake like 15 times, and he'll somehow still hit the shot. That was like the most aggravating shot as a Raptor fan to watch. But he did it time after time in that game to like Mo Peterson and Jalen Rose especially. So it was just unbelievable to watch.
Don't forget Jose Calderon.
Oh, yeah. So Jose was really there. He was there in spirit.
Joey Graham's rookie year.
Was it his rookie year?
Yeah, they were showing a clip of him, and he was like, "Yeah, that was like my initiation into the league."
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's heavy.
One clip that, when I think of Kobe, like really defines him, is when I think it was maybe halfway through his career, maybe later end, when he was 24, Kobe Bryant, and it was when he was with Matt Barnes, and they were like kind of going at it, like jawing a bit. And then Matt Barnes like is about to like throw the ball, and it like he kind of like fakes it to Kobe Bryant, and like literally like a foot away, and Kobe just didn't move. He just like stood there and he didn't flinch. Like I remember people were like, "Yo, that's Kobe Bryant. He's like stone cold. Like he's just in the zone. Like he doesn't flinch." And I remember that it wasn't like a big play, but it just like when I think of him, I'm like, that's what he would do. Like that's his mentality. And then obviously, like a lot of people don't talk about, there's a game where he scored like not 81 points, but he scored 60 something, 63 or
61.
64 against the Mavericks. Yeah. And
61 and three quarters.
Yeah. And I remember he shot the ball literally shot the ball like 30 times and had like 60 points. It's a shame that we didn't see him play the rest of that quarter. I'll know the name Kobe Bryant, and I don't know there's many players like that in the NBA today.
Yeah, it's crazy with the impact that he had on people. Like not even just the NBA world, but like if you go through any social media accounts today, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you watch basketball or not, like you're singing the guy's praises somehow or another. You know what I mean? Like you could be the most random like food account, for example, and then there's still something related to Kobe there. Like the overall impact that he had on, like you're right, Raj. Like the overall impact on the culture as a whole is insane. Like this guy was greater than just basketball for sure.
Yeah, I think for most NBA players right now, he is their Michael Jordan because most of them didn't get to witness Michael Jordan's greatness. I didn't. I always hear about it, like I see clips, but like I never lived it day to day, season to season. I never got to experience the anticipation and all that. Like I have to take it for fact that Michael Jordan was this player, and you could see it on the video that he was clearly dominant against his peers. But Kobe Bryant was the first player in the era where everything's digitized. Like the games are like more available. You can watch YouTube highlights. Like it's just a little more accessible to find the highlights of Kobe Bryant, and he grew up in that era where they were looking for a predecessor to Michael Jordan, and he was that guy. Like he was the next thing to Michael Jordan, and a lot of the players they're 23, 24, and all they've known since they've grown up were Michael Jordan was a good player, but they saw how good Kobe Bryant was, and they all wanted to be him. And that's why seeing the players play today, a lot of them were teammates with with Kobe Bryant. But a lot of them just like looked at him with like the utmost respect, and I can't imagine how tough it must have been just to like actually work today and play. And obviously Kyrie couldn't, and he was obviously very close to Kobe, but Kobe was their Michael Jordan. He was my Michael Jordan.
I like looking back on on historic games and just history in general. So, when I was growing up, I watched a lot of NBA TV. and I would see a lot of Michael Jordan's games. And one of the games that I saw was, young Kobe going against Michael. I think he was in his second year at this point in the 1999 season. Was it 97 or 97? I think he came in the 96 draft, right?
Yeah.
No draft, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think in that game, the Bulls are blowing out the Lakers, and Kobe wasn't really having a very good game up until halftime. And, the Lakers sort of let him go in the second half and just go do his thing and take a bunch of shots and just be Kobe out there. And Kobe was trying to emulate Michael Jordan growing up, obviously. It's sort of like what DeRozan's doing now with Kobe. I mean, DeRozan had a big, tribute today, and he talked about Kobe and how, growing up, he wanted to do every single Kobe move, and he's seen every single Kobe move. And I think Kobe was that way with Jordan. And in that game, you could see Kobe continually talking to Michael, trying to gain more knowledge and, trying to ask Michael and see what he does, in the off season, in between games, to try to get himself better. And that's just the way Kobe was. Kobe always tried to find a, kind of edge where he can get an edge on his opponent in the off season or, like I said, in between games, during practices. And he's obviously known for being one of the greatest practice players of all time, much like Michael was too, and trying to push his teammates to play the same way in practice as they eventually would in games. Because if you're not playing that way in practice, you're not going to bring the same intensity to the games. And he was a firm believer in that. Nowadays, it's changed a little bit with, players on load management and such. And Kobe was one of the last of his era, really. And, he's just an unbelievable talent. We're probably never going to see anybody like him again.
Talent-wise, I think it's going to be hard to find a match. But I think also, impact-wise, he helped the game grow. Obviously David Stern, Michael Jordan, the Space Jam movie, made the game more global. But Kobe Bryant, I can say probably across the globe is one of the most well-known names. Kobe, if you said Paul Pierce to someone in Russia, they probably wouldn't know who he is. But if you said Kobe Bryant, more people than not would know that he's a basketball player, pretty famous, probably played for the Lakers.
Yeah.
When you think Kobe, you think Lakers, obviously. I mean, he's synonymous now with that. He's more well-known than Magic Johnson was, and Magic was, huge for an entire decade, essentially. And Kobe's bigger than that, so it just goes to show you how big of a personality and, player Kobe was.
Greatest Laker of all time?
Shaq says so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm gonna say Kobe Bryant was, just because 20 years at that level, winning all those championships. I think I would give it to him. Although I don't have the pedigree to say that I've watched all the Lakers and know their history as well. But another point that you were talking about, one of my favorite Kobe Bryant stories, it wasn't even a game moment, was when he would go to the All-Star games and he's everyone's joking around, having fun at practice. And he's oh, that's all fun and games. But I was using that time to learn something about my opponents because I'm going to have to play them in a couple of weeks. And I want to get any advantage I can. And that was just how he was. Even though it's important to have fun and enjoy yourself, he really loved basketball. I don't think there's anyone who loves basketball that can say Kobe Bryant wasn't as passionate of a player that there is or ever was about the game.
Yeah, now that you mention it, Raj, there's this one instance that really just sticks on my mind when you talk about Kobe and All-Star games. It was in 2004, and I still remember they were wearing the red and white jerseys. But Jason Kidd was basically dribbling up the court. It's tight game, obviously. And Kobe's that in the last couple of minutes of an All-Star game, they actually start playing defense. Kobe's half court pressing him right at the half court mark. Steals the ball, easy strip, no problem. Goes up and dunks it, whatever. Game goes into overtime later on. And then at the end of the first overtime, Kobe gets fouled on a 3-point shot. He needs 2 points to tie the game, 3 to win it. This dude intentionally missed the second free throw and then proceeded to hit the third. When you're just you hit the first one, you're focused, but you can see he's obviously intentionally trying to miss it. I don't know how to describe it, but you can just tell when he's tanking the shot, right? And he did it just to bring the game to another overtime. and to show you that he didn't care about missing a free throw because he would hit the last one no matter what.
Yeah.
Like when I saw that, I was like, man, this dude is for real. Like that's obviously it's an all-star game, so whatever, but still, that's a badass move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think
going back to, some of the greatest Lakers of all time, Jerry West was the guy who essentially found Kobe and brought him to the Lakers in that draft day deal. But another story that came out today that was, reported on a while ago, obviously, was Kobe's pre-draft workout, which has become the stuff of legends, where Michael Cooper, former Laker and one of the best defensive players of all time, was there to work out Kobe before the draft. And Jerry West basically told Michael Cooper to play Kobe as hard as he could. And Kobe was just busting his ass the entire workout. And, Jerry West got on Michael Cooper. He's like, get down in a stance and, get into him. Why aren't you playing any defense? And he's like, I am. I'm trying the best that I can. And Michael Cooper at this point was still in good shape. And Kobe was just destroying him. And I think at that point, Jerry West saw all he needed to see. I mean, he was already pre-draft scouting him in high school. He was already, one of the best high school players of all time as well in Lower Merion in Philadelphia. But that just cinched into his mind that he needed to get this kid. And, they did some draft day dealings where, depending on what you believe, he basically told Charlotte that he's not going to be playing there. And they were able to get that deal for Vlade Divac, another pick. And the rest is history, essentially. And then Jerry West brought Shaq to the Lakers, and they won 3 in a row. And, they probably could have won a lot more if those guys got along better. But, obviously they had a fantastic run. They were possibly the most dominant team of all time. And again, it just goes to show you that Kobe, again, is one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Yeah. I think another thing, too, with when you think of Kobe Bryant is you really look at like a player who kind of evolved his game. Like he came into the league, obviously he could shoot, but he was more known as like a high flyer, like had crazy dunks, highlight reel. But as he grew older, like his game developed, like he had more range. He had to be a bit smarter. He was a little less aggressive, going to the rim. And so like just watching him grow and like let his game develop, was really refreshing. Like to see someone who was arrogant and thought he could play like that for the next 10 years and knowing that you can't play at like the level he was. And he changed his game and he was amazing at both. And I look at Kobe Bryant, I've always considered him to be one of the best ever. And I think of people that have this big of an impact, and I really do feel this way. Like I feel, out of the people in the world that could have had an impact like this, I feel like Kobe Bryant passing away, like now you really see like how big of a global impact he has, and this is going to affect the NBA for weeks. Like it's not like news for 1 or 2 days. It's going to affect it for weeks.
Yeah, and I'll just share one last moment before we go as well. When I first started watching the NBA, I think my first couple games that I watched were, the finals with, Michael Jordan going up against Utah. But, before that, I watched clips of, Kobe Bryant going against Utah, I think in the same year, where this is like, I think in Kobe's first year, I believe, in his rookie season. And in that, he wasn't really having a good game. I think it might have been the closeout game, actually. And he had a shot to tie the game up, I believe. Actually, no, to win the game. Going into, I think it was in Utah. I think it was game 6. And he airballed the shot. And then he had the exact same look in overtime. And he airballed it again, basically costing the Lakers the win. He shot like 3 for 15 that game, having those 2 airballs as well. And that's the kind of situation where that could just totally ruin somebody's career. You may not come back from that because you're synonymous as the guy who, didn't come up big in those moments. And he could have just wilted and just become an average player or even less than that, despite his talent level. And he decided that, no, I'm going to bust my ass, obviously, and work in the off season and become one of the GOATs. And, from that point forward, I think that basically set him on a path to choose one of two things. And he chose the path that he went on, to where he just worked his ass off to become, again, one of the greatest of all time. And moments like that really build a player, or they'll really test you, because you've seen players that have been in that position before, especially in the rookie year or second year, where they wilt in the moment because they're not fully ready for it. They haven't, had the experience to come up big in that moment. And he really built on that. And again, he became great.
Yeah, dude's a maniac. You know what I mean? Like, the work ethic was absolutely insane. Quickly, give me your top 2 or 3 Kobe highlights. Like, things that if I just say think of a Kobe play, what do you think of initially?
Besides the ones that I've already brought up, I would say, I think it was in 2007 playoffs when the Lakers were playing the Suns, and
I was hoping you would bring this up.
Yeah, they got that steal with I think 5 seconds left or so, and the Lakers called timeout, and they called the play for Kobe. Actually, no, sorry, they stole the ball, and then Kobe brought the ball up the court against 3 guys. Hit that fadeaway shot, and then he pulls his jersey to the side and shows his nipple. That was fucking hilarious.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah, that was incredible.
They
ended up losing the series, I believe, but that moment was just unreal.
He had 2 buzzer beaters in that game, right? The one was he was driving right and had to almost Euro step around 2 guys and then just floated over them to get to overtime.
Yeah.
And then the one that you're talking about, he was double teamed, right? This guy loved that left wing. Now that I'm thinking about it more, because he it was off a jump ball, he grabs it, straight beeline to that point. Is double teamed. Could have given the ball to, I don't know, whatever generic white guy center they had, Chris Mim, Slava Medvedenko. It doesn't matter who it is, but no, he just pulled up over 2 players and just launched it. Cash, nipples out. That was great. Oh man, that's a classic moment. For me, I think one of them has to be hitting his 2 free throws after tearing his Achilles, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, somebody who tore his Achilles tendon. I don't know how he's even standing at that point, let alone walking off the court. Him walking off the court afterwards was one of the most mysterious moments that I've seen in basketball. I just don't understand how he did that.
On his own.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. He doesn't have a tendon. How does that even work?
What the hell is happening here? How did you walk off on your own?
I was so confused.
And then obviously the last game of his career, dropping 60 against Utah, is absolutely incredible. Obviously, you remember some of his crazy dunks against Denver, where he put it behind his back, did of a Euro step when he was young. That was nasty.
Oh yeah,
the one over Dwight
it.
Howard. Yeah. The one over Dwight Howard where he absolutely just murdered Dwight. Oh my goodness. Oh man. This is going to be tough.
2 other moments for me was I think it was 2000 when they were playing the Spurs in the playoffs. And Kobe, I think he had one game where he had 45 points and 16 rebounds. And I think he had a bunch of offensive rebounds in that game. I was watching that game live, and that's one of the big games that really truly got me into basketball, got me to switch from watching more hockey than basketball. I was a big hockey fan back then, but Kobe was one of the guys that really got me to switch. And just watching how he dominated the boards and just out muscling and just out hustling, and just his work ethic and moving guys like Tim Duncan and David Robinson in that game, just out jumping them, out maneuvering them. It's just incredible, and just shooting over them as well. That was one of his moments where you could see that he was going to become an elite talent. And then in Indiana, in the finals, the first year that they won, Shaq fouled out, I believe, in game 3, maybe game 4. And it was up to Kobe to win that game. Before that, Shaq was averaging 38 points that series. But after, fouling out in that game, everyone expected the Pacers to move on and tie the series. I think it was game 4. And Kobe came up huge in overtime. And I think it just sort of came to fruition where, those 2 air balls against the Jazz, it just totally flipped in that series where he was like, no, this series is going to be different. This overtime is going to be different, and I got this. And I think that's truly when he became a true superstar. That's when it started.
Yeah, I have one other moment that like really rings a bell. This was Kobe when he was playing with Ron Artest and Pau Gasol, and it was against the Miami Heat, and it was a buzzer beater that he was running to his left, and he was literally like he didn't stop and shoot, like he was still running to his left, and he shot a three to win the game. It was a regular season game. It wasn't the biggest moment, but just to
Was that
know
when
the
he banged
degree.
it in against Wade?
Yeah, I think it was when he banked it in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Christmas
The
Day
degree
game, I
of-
think.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the degree of difficulty on that shot. Like I still remember watching that and being like how do you do that? Like when you're moving and to get the shot to go like right in line with the net. It was just incredible. And I always remembered him murdering the Portland Trailblazers. Like I felt bad for
Oh
the
my
Trailblazers.
God, that's another moment I forgot to mention.
Oh
Him and
my
Ruben
goodness.
Patterson. That rivalry is incredible. It was so much fun to watch. And he was one shot in the regular. I think it was the very last game of the regular season where the Lakers are down like a ton of points, and Kobe brought them back in the fourth quarter. And Ruben Patterson, the so-called Kobe stopper, came in to slow him down, and he did a decent job on a couple possessions. And then the Lakers called timeout, and they had one possession left. I think they were down 2 points at that point. And I think Kobe caught the ball with 2 seconds remaining, was floating to his left from like 30 feet, shot it over Patterson, swish, and Shaq just like attacked Kobe. He like gave him a huge bear hug. It was so much fun to watch.
That was the most Kobe shot that you could ever think of, too. Like, he was so tightly covered. It was incredible.
Yeah, Kobe's just synonymous with like the tough shot. And I think he just tried to, especially in the years when he had like guys like Smush Parker and Luke Walton starting with him. He just started coming up with like different shots that he could try just to see if he could do it in game.
Yeah, but
That's when I
do
go
you
back to
blame
like
the
the
dude?
free pump fake shot that he used to do when he had guys like all over, draped all over him, and he just refused to pass and shot it anyway. He still make them.
Yeah,
But do you
I mean,
blame him when he had Smush Parker in his team? I would take those shots too.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
of
you don't blame
course.
him. But
and
one
then
thing that
Sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
no.
I was just say he bred like a new generation of players that do that, like DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay. Just like Mike did for guys like Kobe and Vince and like Jason Richardson, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bridging of generations.
Yeah, it's crazy too
Passing
because
the
like
torch.
even when Kobe was like in his prime, like I would say like in the mid 2000s to early 2010, like he was considered one of the greatest among his peers, and even now he's considered like one of his greatest, even though like the players that have played kind of a player in Kobe who was declining near the end of his career, and obviously battling through lots of injuries. One of the saddest things I think, as just a Kobe fan and someone who really obviously values his body of work in terms of a basketball perspective, is we'll never get to hear that Hall of Fame speech. And I knew that Kobe Bryant was super charismatic, like
Oh.
super charming. Like I
Oh.
think that was one part that NBA fans and I think the NBA community, people who play the game, were really getting to know Kobe Bryant a lot better since his retirement. And he's so well spoken. He has such a good attitude. Like in an age where a lot of people are like media seeking, I felt like Kobe Bryant never seeked attention. Like attention just came towards him because of who he was. And to hear him on like various platforms since his retirement, you just loved hearing him talk, and you were always hoping like whenever you would hear Kobe Bryant talk, you would like turn off all, like you would stop scrolling through Instagram or whatever, and you'd like listen. You'd be like, I want to hear what he has to say because he loves basketball. Like he knows basketball. He breathes basketball. And I think missing that and never getting a chance to hear his speech, it'll be tough. But there's obviously bigger things, and I think he's going to be remembered for a lot of good things. And obviously, he's gone way too soon.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. Obviously, we send our condolences to the Bryant family and all the other victims' families from the crash today as well. So, I want to thank everyone for listening. Please remember, rate and subscribe. You can hit us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Anchor, Spotify, all the major podcast platforms. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Stretch4Pod. And until next time, peace.
Before we go, actually, I just want to read an excerpt from Jackie McMullen's article on Kobe Bryant that just came out. And I think it sums up Kobe pretty well, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So, from the time he was an 8-year-old competing against players 3 years older than him, Bryant wasn't satisfied with winning. He was gunning for total domination. He attacked the game with a fierceness that was both admirable and, at times, unsettling to his peers. Like his idol Jordan, who famously reduced teammate Steve Kerr to tears, Bryant once felt teammate Sasha Vujacic with an elbow in practice that left him weeping. "I could never understand," Bryant once told me, "why winning wasn't the most important thing to everyone. Why are you here then?"
We are here to celebrate greatness for 20 years. Excellence for 20 years.
Man, guys, you know, it's, I can't believe how fast 20 years went by. I mean, this is crazy. To be standing here at center court with you guys, my teammates behind me, and appreciating all this, you know, the journey that we've been on. And all I can do here is just thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the years of support. Thank you guys for all the motivation. Thank you for all the inspiration. You guys will always be in my heart. And I sincerely, sincerely appreciate it. No words can describe how I feel about you guys. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. God, I love you guys. And I love you guys. And Mamba out.